What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Dillian the Body Snatcher Whyte. Of course, we know Dillian Whyte was on the undercard of Joshua Ruiz, or should I say Ruiz Joshua 2. And I just wanted to recap his performance in this fight. First of all, he was fighting Mariusz Wach, okay? Mariusz Wach was a guy, he's a journeyman with 5 losses, now 6 losses, and he was beat by everyone in the business, okay? Now, to look at this particular fighter, you would think a guy that has lost to Arthur Spilka, Jarrell Miller, Alexander Povetkin, Vladimir Klitschko, okay? You would think this guy would be a shoo-in for a tune-up fight for Dillian Whyte. It was no such thing. This was not a tune-up fight. What this was, this fight here was a get-back fight for Dillian Whyte. Since Dillian Whyte came in unprepared, I feel, not at 100%, I feel, and not 100% focused, I feel, Mariusz Wach gave him a run for his money. And he proved to be a lot tougher than a lot of people. First off, Dillian Whyte came in definitely overweight. Okay? Somebody in the live feed said that, yeah, he looks like he needs a bra. Yeah, he came in looking pretty jacked up. It looked like 2 fat guys fighting over beer at a bar at a pub. Okay? And Dillian, his punches didn't look right. He said, despite what he said, after the fight, it was almost like he was fighting with one hand, and the second hand, the right hand had no effect whatsoever. Everything he threw at Wach was not really affecting him. And Dillian Whyte landed some good punches. Dillian Whyte was going to his head for the first 5 or 6 rounds. That wasn't working. He started to work the body because he knew this guy ain't going anywhere, obviously. Okay, and then Wach started to counter on his own right and come on in spots. He started swelling Dillian Whyte up. That right eye was bothering Dillian Whyte. Okay, Dillian Whyte looked like he was gassed out, but by round 7 or 8. Okay, he looked like he was ready to go. But he did grind. He did dig deep. He did fight the tougher, taller, bigger Wach. Okay, and Wach is a journeyman. Obviously, at this point, he had nothing to lose. Obviously, he was in better condition than Dillian Whyte was. Now, this fight could have been very bad for Dillian Whyte simply because he wasn't 100% there. We've seen fighters lose because they weren't 100% there. Now, I will say this about Wach. If he was a heavier puncher, Dillian Whyte would be knocked out. Okay? Or let's put it this way. If this would have been a rematch with Oscar Rivas and it was just fought on the fly, Rivas would have knocked out Whyte. You see what I'm saying? Because Rivas has the punching power and the stamina and endurance to fight someone like Dillian Whyte. And Dillian Whyte knew he couldn't fight Rivas, a certain way. He had to fight him and then approach that fight in a totally different game plan. Whereas Wach, he thought he was going to mow Wach down and Wach was going to soon give in. That didn't happen. Okay, Wach showed that not only he can take that punch, he can give his own. And I think because of the lack of punching power Wach had, that's the reason why Dillian Whyte was able to finish. You know what I mean? His stamina issues, he showed it here because of lack of training or mental block or whatever. But I can remember he had stamina issues against another fighter, and his name was I was about to say Peter Parker, but Joseph Peter Parker. Okay, remember he was gassed out in that 12th round. You guys, can you recall that? If you guys have seen that fight, he had nothing left, and that was 12 rounds. Okay, that wasn't 10. This is 10 rounds, and he went 10 rounds with this guy. It could be a good thing that he did gruel out rounds 10. But one thing I can tell you about the people that criticize Luis Ortiz, okay. If you're going to give Luis Ortiz shit about the Christian Hammer fight and how shitty he looked, you got to do the same thing for Dillian Whyte, because he did not look like a spring chicken. He looked like he was out of shape. He looked like he had a lot of free time. He didn't look like he'd been in the gym. He looked like he'd ate too much. Maybe Dillian Whyte's one of those cats that kind of eat too much when he's depressed or something's worrying him. And, you know, some people drink, do drugs or whatever. Some people fucking eat. And I think that might have been Dillian Whyte's thing. Now, he said he was focused to fight. His body didn't reflect that. I've seen Dillian Whyte look a lot better than that. So save it, okay? Now, mentally, was he there? Was he worried about other things? Obviously so. UCAD and friends was trying to fuck him. So, yeah, I can understand that. You know, the guy had a lot on his mind. He wasn't training the way he's supposed to. Then he gets in there with a tough opponent that don't supposed to be that tough, but is that tough. Okay, so he had to go in there and tough it out with a strong fighter. Thank God, again, he wasn't a heavy puncher, because this guy did catch Dillian Whyte with some heavy shots. However, those heavy shots were enough to swell up Dillian Whyte. Now, Dillian Whyte, like I said, he pushed that fight out. But that shows his desire to not fold. It shows his desire that, hey, I'm still here. I'm still a force in the heavyweight division. Coming from a person that that admitted that he was thinking about walking away from the sport of boxing. Okay, so, you know, that shows a lot. That shows that he has some heavy, bona fide resistance. Okay, so props goes to Dillian Whyte for that. It was a tough fight. I think he won because he came on strong in the later rounds, despite looking fatigued, despite everything else that's going on. He still edged out the victory. So, you know, show Dillian Whyte props, but in the future, he better come more prepared. You know, and I also referenced this in the live stream. Anthony Joshua had 2 fights in advance. He had one fighting Povetkin, had another date that was in April. Dillian Whyte, of course, we know this time last year knocked out Chisora in the 11th round. My question is, Dillian Whyte knew that that date was set like everyone else did. My thing is, why wasn't he prepared to fight Anthony Joshua then? Where I'm going with this is, I think Dillian Whyte, when he wins a fight, he leaves the gym and stays gone too long. That's what I honestly think. I think he's one of those fighters, when he fights, he just fights. And when he goes out to live his life, he does that. And he totally cuts off the ring, because you can tell by the time he knocked out Chisora to the time he got over here to see everybody, he had gained a gang of weight. Okay? So in between this time from him fighting Rivas to the time of fighting Wach, he had gained a lot of weight. Now you can say, oh, well, he was stressed about this and UCAD and the BBBFC and all this going on and the WBC and all their fuckery. You could say that, but one thing you can't say, he wasn't that stressed last year after he knocked out Chisora and he gained all that damn weight. Remember that? He wasn't even in shape. He was flabby, and that's what his reason for not taking the April 19th date or April 13th, one of those days that Anthony Joshua had already preserved in Wembley. Right? So where I'm going with this is Dillian Whyte needs to stay really focused and consistent in the gym between fights. That's my counterpunch on that, guys. You guys tell me what you think about that fight. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.